Hey, what's up everyone? Dragon back again, here to tell you that you should be reading The Renegades of Pern. So The Renegades of Pern is a 1989 science fiction novel written by Anne McCaffrey, the late Anne McCaffrey I should say. It is again another installment in her epic Renegades of Pern series. Now this one is a little different in the sense that it focuses more on kind of I don't want to say the underbelly, but kind of the more seedy characters that are found in this world. For despite it being kind of, I don't want to say utopian, but kind of a very kind of well-to-do, kind of well-adjusted civilization and culture in terms of people, there are still those kind of pockets or elements of society, really any society, that are a bit unsavory. And this is kind of the story of what happens when, you know, groups of people are left behind, when a culture or a society allows groups of people to kind of fall through the cracks, and rather than having a safety net there to kind of catch everyone and kind of elevate everyone equally, kind of basically the fallout of generation upon generation of leaving certain groups kind of high and dry while perhaps favoring others. We see this happen a lot within our culture and our society, especially in the Western world. And it's kind of the result of that, where you see people who are prone to violence, people who are basically, rather than working within a system, they are working against a system. There's organized crime, there's basically kind of this lawless mentality, and that is how they survive. That is how they acquire that what they need, what they want, through not by working within the system, but by working outside of a system. And as much as they are painted as the villains of the story, and they are, to be fair, you cannot help but feel that they are essentially, like I said, the result of a system not really dotting all its I's or crossing all its T's. Basically meaning that if the system really made more of an effort to make sure that everyone is accounted for, to make sure that everyone is on equal standing, equal footing, and has equal opportunity, there would not have been groups of people who felt disenfranchised and thus felt the need to, you know, basically get by in ways that are kind of at odds with the status quo. So essentially they are the criminal element of Pern, this otherwise pretty, you know, well-to-do world, this world where, while there are people who don't always see eye to eye, you know, people of varying political factions, as a whole everyone is kind of in sync and is kind of working to a common goal. But these are the people who feel that that world doesn't really recognize them, doesn't represent them. This is the people who feel that this world really wouldn't care if they just up and vanished. And it feels like this is the world that's kind of left them out in the cold. And as such, they have developed kind of this very hostile mentality, and basically almost kind of like this pirate-like mentality where it's, you know, take what you can and, you know, do so by any means necessary. And again, it doesn't justify what they do, but you see how this kind of behavior and this mentality, this kind of way of thinking, if you will, has developed. And you kind of see that a lot in our world, and you realize that while this is a science fiction story that takes place in the world light years away, the mistakes that we made here in our world is being made on this world, that it is kind of a cultural behavior that human beings have brought across the stars to this world. And while having done a better job in this world than Earth, for instance, we still seem to be unable to completely shake off a lot of our bad habits, or really kind of our lazy habits, because it is so much easier just to do broad strokes and get, you know, cover the majority of something, and if there's a few things that get left out, whatever. It doesn't affect, you know, the whole, so to speak. But for those individuals who are left out, to them that's their whole world, that's their life, their whole frame of reality is that. So while to the masses it seems like it's just a minor oversight, to them it's their, again, it's their entire world come undone. And it is the responsibility of any society that touts itself as being kind of, you know, of a particular moral standard, to make sure that everyone is accounted for, no matter how meticulous the task. Even if it is kind of a pain that you have to kind of go and, you know, like a fine-tooth comb and really make sure that, you know, everyone is looked after, everyone is taken care of, everyone is given equal opportunity. In the end, it is worth it because you're going to have a stronger, healthier, well-rounded society. Whereas when you let people fall through the cracks, you are creating essentially a breeding ground for disenfranchisement. Sorry. And thus, this is the kind of stuff that's going to come back and bite you in the ass later on. These are going to be people who then challenge and even threaten the status quo and civilized society, because the way they look at it, why should they care? Civilized society has deemed them kind of unworthy. Therefore, from their perspective, yeah, you can't really blame them, because whether society thrives or not, it really doesn't matter to them. They've learned to live outside of it. And this is really a situation where, while some of these people are too far gone, they're too set in their ways, they've lived like this for many years, and they're adults now, some of them even reaching kind of, you know, their twilight years. It is something that we can prevent from future generations. Okay, we've seen what happens when we failed a group of people. Let's not let this cycle continue. Let us try to fix this. Let us try to prevent it from happening again, so there's not going to be another generation of these renegades, these people who feel that the world has abandoned them, and they feel that there is a place for them, and thus they don't feel the need to kind of go against the system. They don't feel the need to live a lawless existence, because to them there is no law one way or the other, because again, a lawful society has basically deemed them, again, unfit, unworthy, however you want to call it. So to prevent this kind of this furthering of this attitude, this mentality, we need to kind of bring everyone back in. And yes, for some of these people it might be too little too late, but again, we can prevent more people from kind of spiraling down the rabbit hole, more people from falling through the cracks, make sure that everyone is looked after, taken care of, accounted for. And again, it is a story that translates very well to our world, because surprise, surprise, it was probably very much influenced by our world. And it is a story that even today is still extremely culturally relevant. And it is science fiction and fantasy doing what it has always done so well, is that being an allegory for our world, reality, and kind of forcing us to look at something that otherwise we might ignore. Because, you know, it's very easy to turn a blind eye to the homeless person on the street. It's very easy to see a news story of someone, you know, robbing a convenience store or breaking into someone's home. You know, maybe you've been the victim of theft yourself. Someone broke into your house and stole something of yours. It's very easy to just think these people are just throwaways, and that if you ever caught them, they'd be better off just locked in a cage forever, and that's it. But it is maybe this mentality that we don't want to try to fix the problem. We just want to kind of, you know, throw a Band-Aid on it until it peels off and the wound reopens. We need to kind of reconfigure kind of society and realize that we all have to make it together. Otherwise, we're really not going to make it at all. We can't tout ourselves as a, you know, on a moral high ground if there are people who are suffering and who have less than others, and we're not doing anything about that, because we're only going to be creating a mentality where these people feel that they have no choice but to take rather than earn, because the society is not giving them the opportunity to earn it. So when you read science fiction, you know, stories like this that depict a very real world problem, but within the pages of science fiction, you don't feel like you're necessarily being preached to, and you can kind of enjoy the story as it is, while this kind of message is slowly kind of sinking in, and you're allowing it to kind of sink in, and allowing it to essentially, you know, resonate with you. But anyway, that's really it. So, The Renegades of Pern. Have you read it? If so, what did you think? If you have not, I will put links in the description section below where you can pick it up, check it out, give it a read. Let me know how it stacks up for you compared to the other Renegades of Pern series. It does stand out a bit, but I think because of that, it is very much a worthy addition to the franchise and has a lot to say. I mean, all these books in this franchise have a lot to say, but obviously some are going to, I think, have more than others, and I think this one is definitely up there in terms of really trying to get you to think about something that maybe you might have overlooked, and that is something we are all guilty of, myself included. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you in the next one. Peace!